Put down the hammer, and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show, yeah. Real estate info galore, so listen up, don't miss it. Hosted by the Savvy Landlord, oh.
Welcome to the Savvy Radio Show, yeah. Well, I've set this goal 2017 to interview 50 superstars. And yep, today is another one. This is a cool story. I don't even know this guy. Another one. I don't know how he connected, but, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to text me, reach out. And this cat did it. And then when I sat down with him at Panera Bread, I was blown away of a real entrepreneur mind. I don't even know how many houses he has or what the F he does, but what I was so blown away was your financial background of being in the bank industry, which is such a passion for me because I was so insecure of banking, and that you were the guy that were buying mortgages or selling loans by the bulk, right. Which is I know that's not who you are today, but I has some roots inside of you. And I was like, man, when I sat down. Let me tell you what this dude's name is. First of all, let's get into it. His name's Scott England. Ooh, I don't know what that means to you, but it means a lot to me, and you're going to learn a lot about being a real estate investor. So I sat down with this guy at Panera Bread. I'm always awkward why people want to connect. Well, I know why. He's a super smart real estate investor to grow his business and learn from each other. I was like, wow, okay. I don't have that many friends that want to grow and learn. Then come to find out, this guy is super knowledgeable of finance, and he's cool. He's not that nerd rock, banker that's all tight and weird. He's I call him the Wolf of Wall Street. I want to call you the Wolf of real estate, because you're like that guy. You have that persona of cool, but he's so smart. And so when I sat down with you that day in Panera Bread, I was like, man, I need to have this guy on the radio show. And then we just became quick friends, and then we bump into each other at random places. And welcome to the Savvy Radio Show. That's how I know Scott England.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you having me. Glad to be here.
All right. So, because I just hyped up this whole financial thing. So,
yeah, I'll try to live up to that introduction.
Yeah, seriously, how did that even, okay, where are you from?
Yeah, grew up in Owasso, Oklahoma.
Which is near Tulsa.
That's right. It's a northern suburb, yeah.
Okay. And then you went to school, high school, I'm assuming.
Yeah, high school in Owasso. Went to university at Oklahoma State, and
OSU. Okay, so
that's right. So I haven't traveled too far, but made it to the middle of the state.
Okay, and then would you get an undergrad? Did you graduate?
I did. Yeah, I got my undergraduate degree. Got it in psychology. Yeah, and
so you mind games,
right? Well, I thought I would follow in my mother's footsteps. She's a counseling psychologist.
Oh God, no offense. I mean.
Well, I
techniques.
The plan was to go on and like her get my PhD, but I had a different path and really couldn't decide between business and psychology, and so I've got a marketing minor.
So you have always had this struggle of psychology, which you can use for sales, and you've had this business mind since you're a kid. Give me an example of you being a business kid. And you struggled with that, it seemed like.
Yeah, my struggle has always been organization, motivation, but
normal.
Welcome
to the club.
I had a mentor and kind of a second father of mine it has been very successful in business. Came from absolutely nothing, dirt poor. So I'm to this day very good friends with his son, and so I was around him a lot. He had us working in the shop, in the factory, I guess, the manufacturing plant from, 8th grade. So just grinding it out, stamping those hinges, hanging that steel. And so, what I got from him, how
old were you?
So, I guess we met, or I met his son, and then got to know him, like 3rd grade, something like that. And
wow, it's like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, that book really spoke to me because I had a very similar
real life experience.
Yeah,
So this guy's like you're the rich dad.
Right.
Your parents are into education and psychology, I guess, of
Right.
sorts. I don't know what your dad is, and then this guy showed you what business was like, and you were working for him.
Right. Yeah. Working. Started working for him, and he kind of took me, under his wing, if you will, pretty early on. He was my football coach, kind of a second father, and then we were always hanging out at their house. And my father, he taught me a lot of things. He was very artistic and very curious,
Creative.
But very creative guy, sculptor.
Cool.
But when it came to having starting businesses, he was also an entrepreneur. Starting businesses and running businesses and having that mindset, it was those two experiences. Were very, very divergent, right? So, my father was, like I said, a brilliant artist, but he tried to be an entrepreneur over and over again. He was kind of a serial entrepreneur, and
cool. So this
then
guy
my kind of adopted father, he just
was killing it.
he was, yeah.
So he exposed you to business, and that gave you the desire to be in business. And then, so you're like a normal American, got to go to college, right? Because you're not going to be successful if you don't have 30 degrees or a doctorate.
That's right, yeah.
So you go to OSU,
right,
and then you get a psychology degree.
Get a psychology degree. I thought, I'm going to be a psychologist.
So you're like a doctor.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought.
So was there like a specific field, like trauma, kids, or?
Well, that's where my mother came from. Was kind of adolescents and children, things like that. She eventually moved on to and added other specialties. But I thought I was going to go into industrial organizational psychology, which is sort of the professional side of psychology. So it deals with HR.
Yeah, I was about
is
to
a
say
big piece
HR.
of that,
Okay.
right? So HR, but then also you've got all sorts of professional studies, and the realm of IO is very broad.
So during that process, where'd the hustle come in? Because you're not lazy.
No, not anymore.
And you work really hard. You send me pictures of the house you just remodeled,
Right.
which the other day wasn't like that, like overnight. So you're a grinder,
Right.
Where was a desire for success, business? Where'd that turn on?
Both. I would say it came from both my mother and my my mentor /
Buddy,
adopted
whatever.
father. Both were. My mom. I think of her as kind of the original hustler. She.
She's definitely hustling on the side. She's getting paid by the hour.
Yeah. She. Some of my earliest memories was of her getting her PhD. Right. So she had 3 kids.
Wow.
School. Had school. So, she went and did the program where she got her master's and her PhD at once. She, commuted to Stillwater every day.
Wow.
Full-time student getting her PhD. But then
So you saw the work ethic.
saw the work ethic, but she still had money to make. So she worked weekends from Friday nights to Sunday morning,
Wow.
Sunday afternoon, just straight through to get that full-time pay at the children.
So that motivated you.
Yeah.
That's where the work ethic came in.
It is, and of course, my mentor, and he kind of taught me. He taught me how to grind it out and do what it takes to get it done. At the end of the day, that's what it's about on a lot of
Right on. That's cool. I love the background. So then, how did you? Finance to psychology are way two gaps too
Right.
far away. And then OSU. You were graduating. Did you get apply somewhere, get a job?
Yeah.
or-
So I kind of bounced around a little bit. So I thought, okay, once I made a decision, all right, no, I'm not going to get my PhD. I'm going to go into business. So I applied and got accepted to the MBA program at Tulsa University.
Wow. That's big time.
Yeah, I was excited, and my oldest brother had graduated there with his MBA, and he's kind of the smarty pants of the family.
What does he do?
He actually is. I got to remember his title.
This is awesome. So you got a brother got an MBA. So you are like the middle child.
I'm the youngest. Yeah.
So you're a scrapper. So you're
Right,
like, I'm
yeah.
going to outwhip these
Right.
these people that are way successful in front of me.
Right. Well, and
So I'm wondering where this drive is coming from. Like, yeah, psychology, yeah, okay.
well,
I
this
mean,
is
I get it.
my
but I'm like,
personality is being exposed here.
well, it's okay.
So I was accepted, and I lasted a week. I lasted a week, but I can, my brother and I made the exact same score on the GMAT, so I called that a victory. And
Also, this competition is bleeding out of you. You're holding back. This is, folks. If you, I gotta start videoing this shit. I mean, this stuff, because it's like, I mean, I could see you hold back from this I know. I have 3 kids. I didn't grow up with my brother, but okay. So keep going.
yeah, so that lasted a week, but I take it back, a week and a half, and I was about 24 hours too late to just pay kind of that minimum
drop
fee.
off.
Yeah, so I had to pay half the semester, and that's a private college. So
Yeah.
So I paid on that week and a half of grad school for about 2 years.
Wow. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
People pay a lifetime, and then you didn't yield anything. It yielded you something.
It was a series.
So what
of
yeah. What? Okay, I'm gonna drop out. Why? Like, what was that? Like, your girlfriend?
No,
said,
you know what it was.
to move in. I mean, come on.
She's my wife now, but she was very supportive. I mean, for both when I wanted to go and when I wanted to drop out. But I realized that I look around. There's a lot of capable, smart people, and I realized to get it done, I was going to have to be all in. It wasn't child's play. I mean, it was real.
You are an entrepreneur.
It was real stuff. So I kind of made the decision. You know what? I think it's good, but I'm not ready.
Dude, it's awesome.
And
I think that, dude, that is a problem. Like, side note here, that's the problem with society. They're just wishy-washy into stuff, and if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go all in, or not at all. But man, I got to give it up for you already. That's a nugget, folks. Don't, if you're gonna do it well, or don't do it at all. Okay.
Well, it was a good decision at the time. I mean, it worked out.
What your success now? I mean, we'll get into all that jazz. So, okay, so you drop out of there. Now you're like confused.
Yeah, now I'm confused, and so I think, you know what? I'm gonna just go get a job. So there was a psychiatric hospital that my mother had worked at as a psychologist. I don't know, maybe 10 years prior.
This is awesome.
10 years prior. So I said, you know what, let me just get in there, see what happens. Now, she was a PhD when she worked there, so she was a very professional. I was bottom of the barrel. So I got a job. I worked a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift as a psychiatric tech on the adult crisis unit.
Did you wear a jacket?
I did not. Okay. No, it was
no white jacket.
Just a little name tag.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
So
this is crazy. You just dropped out of MBA and you're like, I got to get a job. And you got this future wife hanging on the side.
Right. And she graduated a semester early. She's already got
That's like my wife.
Professional job.
3 degrees.
And then there's me. I spent, I don't know if I want to admit this, but I spent the time between undergrad graduation and when, the graduate school started. I had a 6-week period. That was right around the time MMO games came out, and I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time playing video games in that time. So,
all right.
But it was, I was going through this. It was a process.
You're still young. How old are you?
I'm 37.
Yeah, you okay?
Yeah. So,
well, you were pretty young.
But I was.
That's like 10 years ago.
No, man, I was 15 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So so I get
a good memory.
Get a job and. I was like, all right, we're doing this full time, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. But, it's only 3 days a week.
How long did this last?
A year.
Yeah.
A year until my wife and I made the decision on our honeymoon that I got to figure something else out.
Wow. God,
but it was a good experience.
So you get married.
Yep.
And then here you are again. This is a great woman. We got to bring her out.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah.
So... Man, I kind of have an idea of what's going on there. So so then now what?
Now I leave that position, but I had a job, so I went to a job fair that that a local bank was having. It's the biggest bank around town, so went to a job fair and
all suited up.
Suited up, yeah. I mean, I've always been pretty good at interviews, right? I've always worked fairly well under pressure, and that's always been what has jolted me into.
So you create the pressure.
Yeah, and if I'm not under pressure, I don't do very well most of the time. So I have to figure out a way to tap into that before things get tight. But interviewed at this job fair and
Cool.
got a job as a grocery store banker.
The ones at the Walmart,
those little
like
banks
those,
in
like the
Walmart.
little temporary, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So you're a teller.
Well, my title was consumer banker, but it was a glorified grocery store teller. Yeah.
So did you have a desk too?
Well, we shared a desk. We had a desk, but there was 4 to 5 of us working
Okay.
at any given time.
All right, that's not the cool guy I met at Panera Bread.
No, man,
Dude, this is like BS. Like, I want to know about like this.
But that's what made the shift for me. That is not a fun job, man. I mean, anybody
No,
who works
teller,
those,
it's like the worst job.
but it's not just a teller. The teller was probably the easy part. So this bank
Plus, you have all this money you got to manage.
a really good system. A business development system, but it was terrible for the employees. So I mean, we had to troll the aisles of the supermarket looking for deals. Man, you want new accounts, loans. I mean, we would literally wear an apron that looked like we were part of the grocery store, but it had the bank's logo on it. So we would walk up and down the aisles,
God,
man, and
so
just
cool.
hit people up like, hey, I know you're trying to pick out which bacon you want to buy, but do you have any need for a loan, or have you?
Can we finance this bacon? Or the pig farm?
That's right. So, it grounded me in a professional setting.
Absolutely.
It
Humbled you.
It absolutely humbled me. It taught me how.
Plus, your brother is like breathing down your neck as the NBA guy.
Oh yeah.
And you're working at the grocery store.
That's right. That's right. Out of school, he got a really
Can't wait for him to hear this.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to forward it to him. I don't know if I'm going to let
Oh,
him
you got to
know.
let him know because we're about to get into your success. Because we got.
Well, he's very successful. I mean, he's
probably a great guy, man.
He is. He's really, really good guy. But it taught me it taught me to get over partially, at least at this point, to get over my fear of just talking to people. I mean, I never had necessarily a fear, but that fear of rejection that you have to overcome to be,
Yeah.
at minimum, a good salespeople, right?
To request money.
Absolutely.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, you got to request money.
Right.
So, okay, so you're working this branch.
Working the branch, and
so-
it gave me my first taste of finance, right? It was, like I said, it was kind of a glorified teller that trolled the aisles looking for deals.
Crazy.
But it gave me that first taste of finance, and it helped me to sort of understand how the money process worked, right? From an institutional perspective.
Right. And how in the world did you get into the corporate world of flying around the country,
Right.
selling loans, right? Or you
Buying notes, yeah.
buying notes from other banks, that inventory.
Yeah, so
That's like, okay, now we're getting into, okay, guys, 15 minutes into this deal. Now we know
now,
Scott.
okay, yeah, and I'll speed it up. Sorry, I
don't want to cut you off, but I mean, we can go for all day. But I mean,
so
that's all new material for me.
Yeah,
So-
the short version of my entry is, so my wife worked at a bank, and she worked at the division of this bank. It's a regional bank, large regional bank. So she worked in the division of this bank that sold mortgage notes, right? And through one of her contacts, I got introduced to a guy who was sort of a bond trader that worked with her bank as well as the company I ended up working for.
The bank, the troll bank, the aprons.
No, it was a different.
Okay.
So yeah,
So you moved from that bank
It
to
was
another bank.
really, it was a mortgage company. I ended up getting, so that was my entry in. So he introduced me to this position, gave me
What's the title?
it was account executive.
Okay,
That's-
just like a
that's-
regular sales job.
Right, regular sales job. So
So was it treated like a sales job?
it was, yeah,
Okay.
definitely business
But
development.
your job was to buy stuff, buy mortgages.
That's right. Yeah. So we bought. I mean, it's kind of a weird setup, but it's business. I mean, think of it as business development, relationship management. But instead of selling, we kind of have to sell our services to acquire those notes.
Okay.
Right.
So let's tell me about like a typical like your job. So you're a sales exec or account executive, and you're going all over the country to meet with smaller banks,
Right.
that have inventory that need to like they're not over leveraged, but they got too much money on the books that they got to recycle
They need
out.
liquidity. That's right, because they only have a certain. I mean, like us, right? There's only a certain amount of money to be had, and you gotta
Right,
churn it.
and right, and the government has like all these ratios where you can't have too much out, which
right.
is what you have to sell for cash.
That's right.
So they have a need, and that need is they have to sell these notes that are performing, right?
Right.
Or did you buy non-performing notes too?
No, and see, yeah. So it wasn't. That's sort of a different market. So what's called agency notes or A-paper notes.
Okay,
so
cool.
this was the
Yeah, now we're going. Now
right.
we're
That's the
getting
cream of
into
the crop. Right. Yeah.
So you're buying already vetted out loans. They're already seasoned per se.
They can be, but generally a bank will immediately just turn it around.
Sell it.
Some banks will, they'll take a payment or two just to get that upfront interest income and just an extra little bump in that fee income.
The origination.
That's right. Well, they'll get that, but then if they hold it for a month or two before they sell it, they get to keep that interest.
Oh yeah, because it's almost all interest. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
So it's like the
it's a
first
little
2-year window is what they want, and then they sell it to the open market. That's usually
that's
this business model for them.
That's right. It's called the secondary market, and it's it's not as prevalent in our side of the business where we're getting commercial and investment loans, but the overwhelming majority of owner-occupant loans or second home loans, that's secondary. Anything that's a 30-year fixed, 20-year fixed, probably that's going on the secondary market, and that's where Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac come in.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then that was your job is to, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think about it logically. Unlimited amount of money in my mind.
It is, right.
And you have to, your goal is to buy as many notes. Did you have to like pre-qualify these notes, or was it like, were these residential, or was
they
it
were
like
reviewed.
business loans, or
Right,
was
so-
there underwrite? I mean, do you have to underwrite a bank? Like,
Well, you do. So we had to. So the process really was, it was a to Z business development. So I developed my own list of, all right, well, let's go to the FDIC website, print out a list of banks,
wow.
call those banks up.
Say, hey,
Ask if I can talk to
I'm
the mortgage
Scott
lender.
England with bank, and do you have any notes to sell?
Yeah, I remember the first day that I sat down and cold called banks.
So this is like a new division in your bank.
Well, at this point, it was a mortgage company that I worked for.
Okay.
That first job in the business, it was a mortgage company, and I got the job because at the time nobody else wanted it. Right? It was a
Groundbreaker.
It was a division of this mortgage company that called on community banks. Right? And at the time, this is pre mortgage bust. Right? At the time, community banks had a very small market share of
Loans.
That's right.
Because they all went to like big corporate. Everybody went to Bank of America or Wells Fargo, or
Exactly. So the
nobody went to the local bank.
No,
Unless they were
and
like
they
a
did,
farmer.
and local banks didn't know how to sell this product. Generally speaking, I mean,
Well,
they just
the
didn't.
regulations were always confusion,
Right,
and I think the banks just created that way.
they are. They
To a
are.
certain
They're-
degree.
They're not. They are not progressive in their business. And I'm speaking generally. But the community banks, they don't really have forward.
Oh, I
thinking.
already know. I mean, I
Yeah.
borrow from community banks. I'm like, the way they
Right.
operate, not to disrespect, they're like little mom and pop shops that all of a sudden have money. And
That's started to change in the last 10 years. I mean, with the ability for them to get a presence online and with social
services.
marketing and
Well,
things like that.
I mean, a lot of people don't know, ladies and gentlemen, like a bank is like a regular business. Like they have services that they pay for, security services, wire services. They have to pay all these fees. It's like, it's not free.
That's right.
And then they can change their software. Like I know a banker that's like redoing their online banking presence. Do you just call up a local web designer? Hey, 20-year-old kid, make me a new bank website that's triple secure. No, they have services, and I never thought of that. They go to conferences like little weird bankers. Like
Right.
they get together and be nerds together.
That's right, and they have a pretty powerful lobby. The Independent Community Bankers of America, which I actually think has now merged with the ABA. But
Interesting.
yeah.
So you did this. So you traveled around the country. making money. And how did you make money on a percentage basis? Was it a flat fee?
It was basis points, right? It was based on basis points. So
Whatever you acquired.
that's right.
So if it was like a $3 million deal,
that's right.
so 10 loans or 100 loans or 30 loans.
Based on
The
total volume of the notes, and that's how everybody got paid down the line, right? So when I would buy these from my banks, right, we would put them all together in a pool, right? So I would buy individual loans from these banks, right? So Stephen, you go
$2 million over here, $3 million over there.
Well, it's more like $100,000 here. I mean, it's individual notes, right?
Okay.
So you go to your bank, you get your loan.
So you put this on a spreadsheet?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had some backup, right? I mean, there was a pretty efficient process behind the scenes. I mean,
I'm trying to grasp.
Yeah,
I think this is the sexiest job in the world.
Man, I enjoy.
I mean,
it.
personally, like I'm like living vicarious. It's like I'm serious. Like I just think about it logically. I mean, you're providing a service for a bank, and you have a giant bank behind you. It's a regional bank, but a couple $100 million of funds.
Yep.
That they're borrowing money from the Fed,
Right.
which people don't know. I understand that. That's okay. Then you're gobbling up these loans.
Right. Gobbling them up one at a time, and then we pool them, right? So we act as what's called aggregators, right?
Okay.
So sort of the middleman between your small medium bank that's just originating mortgages and Fannie Mae, right? So there's somebody's got to
Okay, so you're pulling them all together and then selling them to Fannie
pull them
Mae?
all together into a pool, right? So that's called a pool.
Like
so
a
you
mutual
gotta-
fund kind of company?
Well, there's some rules. I mean, it gets a little bit complicated, but say, we collect $100 million worth of loans, Fannie Mae loans that are similar, right? So they're 25 to 30 year fixed
Yams.
interest rate. That's, there's coupon rates.
And they're
right?
all fixed.
Well, they're not all fixed, but most in a pool will be.
Wow, it's
At
kind of
least as I
complicated.
understand that.
Because you don't reset the AM
No.
because you got your service. So you're taking over the services of the loan.
Right. So we would pull those together and we'd take them to Fannie Mae and say, hey, Fannie Mae, here, these are $100 million in mortgage
Wait a
loans.
minute, is there a movie based on this?
I think, well, yeah.
What's that
We can
movie?
get into that later, but,
The Big Short?
there's The Big Short and then
Dude,
too,
this
too
is-
Big to Fail. Too Big to Fail is probably one that relates a little bit more directly to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so folks need to watch those two movies. So
Yeah,
you can-
absolutely.
You can
Yeah.
hang in on this conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So you pull
So
this together. You call Fannie Mae. Say,
We
hey,
call Fannie Mae and say, we got some loans. I mean, obviously.
and they're all giddy. If you
Right.
watch The Big Short, they're like, yeah, we'll buy them.
Yeah, and yeah.
For a
So
fee.
so we you hand them over to Fannie Mae, and theoretically Fannie Mae reviews them to make sure that they meet.
Theoretically, way to put that in there, Daddy.
Well, they don't review all of them, or
I
at
guess
least
they can't.
You can't. I mean,
Fine.
it's an audit.
Do I review all my cribs? I can't.
Right, no, you can't. So they say, okay, these meet standards, these meet Fannie Mae standards, and what Fannie will do is they don't necessarily buy these, but they put the Fannie Mae stamp of approval, right? And it's Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae. There's these different agencies, right?
Sure.
And I'm gonna preface this by I don't claim to be an expert on this
Sure.
securitization process, but I know it. I know enough to be dangerous.
This is
but,
super cool, man.
Well,
I mean, I've never met anybody. I mean, I watched you on TV.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean,
It's gnarly.
I'm kind of a nerd for this side of the banking industry. I mean,
It's just amazing that this world goes on, and a lot of people don't know. I mean, it was glamorized or dramatized on The Big Short, but this is exactly The Big Short
yes, this is the
Or
crux.
the other one.
This is the crux of where the problems arose.
of subprime.
Yes, and so yes, absolutely. Subprime generally it didn't go to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, but it went through the same
Packaging.
rough process, right? You aggregate, you buy them up. Aggregator buys them up individually, puts them in a pool, and here's the
And how do you rate it by security?
Well, here's the fun part. Well, there's rating agencies, do.
Okay.
But they're not rating. They're rating the bonds that are generated from the securitization of those mortgages, right? So bonds, right? Treasury bills from the U.S. government,
Backed 100%.
right? You get right. And so you've heard of mortgage-backed securities.
Right.
This is what they are: bonds that are backed by the payments from that pool of loans,
Sure, but they could be bad.
and they could be bad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know that now.
And here's the thing: even if a certain amount is bad and it's still an okay investment, investors get spooked, right? So yeah, okay. So the return, this bond may be worth less, but if everybody wants to sell at the same time, well, then it brings the price down even further, and that's really what happened with the mortgage meltdown. It's complicated, but generally what happened is those subprime mortgages that were terrible programs to begin with. Well, they started to fall. Tick, 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 right? And then the dominoes hit. So once people realized just how the default rates on these loans
were actual,
and that sent the whole
it was
process.
all fake information. So that's where it wasn't even actual data. I mean, it was actual data in the returns. I mean, on the failures,
right?
But that person behind the screen, we didn't really know.
Right.
It wasn't really regulated as it is now.
It's not, and that side. You've heard of things like stated income, right? Where somebody would, or liar loans,
no
right?
doc loans.
Right. There'd be the no doc loans. And it got out of hand. I mean, as investors, we understand the importance of a stated income product. But
very important for me.
You give somebody a product and it's not just going to go to the farmers and the self-employed borrowers. Sure. It's going to go to everybody. So
so you experienced before subprime collapse.
Yes.
During that, were you working in that field when it collapsed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the company I worked for was actually launching a subprime division. I mean, they didn't get to. I mean, it was in beta stage.
Wow. And so you saw this nightmare happening,
absolutely.
And then Lehman Brothers going down, the news going ballistic.
Right.
Your future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was
going down with it.
It was.
This
is
a
tough
amazing.
Time, man. There is a on the.
I watched the internet thing you told me.
Okay. Yeah.
That day. I mean, you could tell it on the radio.
Yeah. The company I worked for, it was a company called Taylor Bean and Whitaker, or TBW, and the owner and chairman was a brilliant guy. He actually foresaw where the market was going, and that's the division I worked for. He saw it 5 years before everybody else did, that the industry would move towards the community banks and away from mortgage brokers. Well, he was also kind of a narcissistic criminal.
Oh, really? I Googled that up.
Right.
After I met you, I mean, I went home and I go, dude, I met this guy. He was in a banking during the plummet.
Yeah, in the middle of it, man. So I wake up one Monday morning, and this is in 2009, right? This is a little bit after. Wake up one Monday morning, open my laptop, got my cup of coffee. First email I see is from a client of mine in Minnesota. He says, "Hey, man, you got to look at this." It links into the local online, or the local paper, the online version of Ocala, Florida. That's where the headquarters were. One line, just a heading and a picture. TBW headquarters raided by federal TARP agents.
That's your company.
That's my company, right? And there's a picture of, those cop shows when they bust into places and they got the FBI jackets? It was that exactly, except it said TARP, not FBI. TARP, Troubled Asset Relief Program, right? Wow. So that was kind of like the bailout, right? That was the program that essentially bailed the banks out. Well, to make a very long story short, what was happening was the chairman was using the company kind of as his own line of credit, if you will. So, I mean, this guy, private jets and
all jazz,
leather floors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and the stories can go on forever, but
you woke up at 9 a.m. You see this. What the was going through?
Oh, dude, and I was, man, and I always knew something.
How old were you at that time?
29. 29.
So you're just now starting your life. You fell in love with this thing called banking.
Yeah, I love the job
and your sales and you hanging out with executives of sorts. I mean, people that are selling loans have some astute,
right.
Going golfing, I guess.
I tried to be a good golfer, but yeah.
So okay,
I wouldn't call it
9
golfing.
a.m. Get this email. What goes through your mind?
This honestly, what went through my mind is this is what's happened. This is what's going to happen, because I always knew. I mean, in the back of my mind, that this company was like something was off.
Oh, okay. Was it like your big paycheck? like the free miles?
It just wasn't. I mean, if you kind of felt the internal workings of the company,
There's something
wrong. You just
wrong.
knew. I mean, it was
Something's
like
going
there was nepotism. There was
that's a big word for me.
that
Like
basic.
no sex.
No, it's where
nepotism. All right.
somebody's family member is. They hire somebody's family member.
Oh, okay.
But it was
Damn,
that.
I'm so uneducated.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna hire my nepotism kids.
That's right.
Oh my god. You gonna throw out the
wanna make
big
you a- I
words.
wanna
You better look at your damn notes.
I'm gonna make you a shirt.
Okay, so yeah, there was a good old boy network.
It's a good old boy network, and and I was happy to be a remote employee because
Yeah, man.
you never know who was who was protected.
You could
never
got tied
know.
in.
Yeah, no, you never know who was protected. You
Plus,
never
it's
know
the FCC.
Dude, it was
I mean,
a cluster.
This is
I mean, it was-
federal.
Right.
We're dealing with federal, man.
Right. Well, and that's what happened. Monday morning, boom, they got raided, and Colonial Bank out of Alabama
Oh, Colonial Bank.
also got raided at the same time. And essentially, what was happening is there was Colonial had the majority of TBW's warehouse lines, which is basically a line of credit, and they were manipulating.
Numbers. I saw the video.
Yeah. So they
You
were
guys gotta
manipulating.
Google that deal up. Everyone, Colonial Bank takedown or whatever.
Or was it American Greed? Was the episode?
Yeah,
It
I
was-
watched it.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I'm serious. As soon as I ran home and watched it.
Yeah, so Google Lee Farkas, Farkas, American Greed, and then, but man, by Wednesday, it was a ghost town. It was
Wow. And so your
done.
whole life just ended.
it did. I went from when I started. That was 4 years in. I went from it's like any sales job. I mean, any
Sure.
commission only
But you gotta
sales
think
job.
about it like, I mean, you're older now and you're established now. And now you have, I can't wait. We talk about real estate here in a minute, but I mean, it's over. I mean, I can't imagine like it's over. Like in your mind, like no paycheck,
yeah.
your life. Did you have kids at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean,
Wife
your
and kids. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
It took me a minute to rebound from that.
or to breathe.
Yeah.
It's like, not, I mean, I don't want to just not sensitize 9/11, but I remember standing there looking at the TV. I know exactly where I was. I can kind of see, or even the bombing. I remember I was in college and no way this happened. And
Right.
you just don't feel it. You don't believe it until you go see it.
Very similar. Obviously.
I mean, I'm just
different,
seeing
but
it from my
very
own
similar
perspective.
feeling, like just kind of frozen and stunned. What's happening?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Did I save enough? Was my wife going to think? I mean, I'm imagining. I mean, just personally, I always get vicariously through people. I love movies because I'm like, I'm that guy. I'm my own Superman.
Right. Yeah.
I would have done it better. But how did you get off the ground, man? So
Yeah.
and plus now you're in real estate. You're heavy in real estate. You're grinding it out. You're in a couple markets. Then you get started a roofing company on top of that. But how did you get from the floor to where you are today? Like, what was the next thing? Like, how'd you get into real estate? I mean, you're selling fake securities. I mean, in reality,
No, ours were the legit ones.
I
Right?
mean, yeah, right. So, yeah, are they serviced now? Maybe they're 30 years. Who knows? Who cares?
Most of them probably.
But I mean, like, how'd you become a real estate investor?
Well, I got into it by accident. Actually, my wife and I couldn't.
Wife, what's her name?
Her name is Kate.
Dude, Kate.
She's awesome.
She's
Yeah.
bomb. I mean, my wife got me my job at the bank. you were looking at freaking bacon.
Oh man, she until
She got the.
she
you married
quit.
up. You married up, man.
Until she stopped
I don't
working.
even know what this chick looks like.
She's beautiful. Until she stopped working, when we started having kids, she made more money than I did. I mean, she was graduated a semester early. I'm barely graduating on time.
Then you quit. It's like, I remember my wife had a job at the hospital, and I was like some flunky entrepreneur. I mean, it's a great story. God, you've been humbled so many times as a man. Just typical men.
Yeah.
Like, we're the breadwinners. I'm going to grad school. No, I'm not. I just lost my job. No, I was a bank teller at the grocery store. I mean, I know people don't get it. Women, I know you're not going to get this, but I mean, just men. We got this ego thing, the pride thing.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm glad I interviewed you. I don't care how long this takes, but and I didn't beep that. I beeped that out myself, but folks, we don't edit this crap. So how'd you fell into it? Your wife? Please tell me, Kate. this woman, what did she do? She introduced you to somebody? Was she working at the bank at the time? Another bank?
No, so she had stopped working, and
So you were the breadwinner too?
we were. I mean, we've got 4 children now, and they are within 6 years of each other. So we were cranking out our offspring at that point. So she's in the
busy.
Yeah, I mean,
being
she's
pregnant,
tired. Doing
stuff.
But I mean, she did what she always does, and she's supportive, and she's like, "You will be able to figure it out. It's sucks now, but it's going to be okay."
I'm gonna get her on radio.
You need to, man. It'll be better than it'll be.
Well, my wife and I are working on a couple thing, like how to deal with an entrepreneur. Because I'm like, one minute we're gonna be rich, then we're broke.
She'll probably have some pretty good insights.
Anyway, so
yeah, I mean, it hit me pretty hard.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. I can't imagine.
And that was not to, you're not Dr. Phil. It was a tough time for me because of that.
Looking at your children,
looking at my children,
house payment, job,
got another job that was very similar. It was with a big financial institution, actually one of the ones that got bailed out. But I was like, all right, this is a big place doing the same thing. They actually plucked a certain number of salespeople from the old company.
Cool.
Put us in. They said we want to start a division exactly like you were do what you were doing. I was kind of back in the game for a while.
Were you nervous though?
No, man. I felt good because it was like
a bigger institution.
Wanted us bigger institution, more opportunity.
So you fire it back up.
Boom! I'm back on top. I'm feeling good. Oh, 3 months in, the writing is on the wall that it's not exactly what they sold us on. And so people start dropping off, right? The first person to leave was by far the top salesperson, and she had been in the business for like 30 years. She didn't have to deal with it, right? She didn't have to take that crap. So anyway, people start, leaving, and then right about that time, we lost my middle brother, and and our daughter was born right about then, and so man, it was like a
life just crushed.
Oh, it was tough, man. But
damn.
Luckily, had
you just bounced right up in a chair like you're just a freaking rocker, man. God has blessed you with this entrepreneur deal, this fighter inside of you. I don't know if it's the last child. My daughter seems a fighter. Scrapper is what we call her.
Well, you have to, yeah. Especially when you had older brothers that, I mean, I'm not a big guy. I'm not a small guy. I'm kind of average, but my brothers were big. I mean, we're talking 6'3", 6'5", or 6'4" and 6'5", just big. And they
man, losing a sibling, I can't even comprehend.
It was move around or be crushed, but
or comply.
That's well, generally, yeah. It was just do what they said, but
golly. So now what? Now 3 months in, you're like at this almost the same position that you were. Like, where is this going? What am I going to do?
Right. So, and that's right about that time is when I kind of learned how to just. I mean, not learned. I mean, I from my mom and my mentor, I was always kind of experiencing
setbacks, I guess. Setbacks or trials,
and just like
fighting it out.
Whatever is happening at the time, whether you're on a high or a low, you have to get in there and grind it out. It doesn't matter. I mean, my mentor tells me stories about his first business failed, and he's actually written a book, and you read his story, and it is a long road of struggles and failures to
welcome to the club.
Right. So and that's kind of when it hit for me. It was like it's not like I have any other option.
Yep.
I
guess we talked about that earlier. I mean, you just don't think of. I was talking to somebody earlier before you came in. I was like, man, it's just guys like, how do you keep going? And I'm like, I don't have an option.
Right.
I mean, my mom died. I don't have another option. I can't take her. I can't bring her back.
Right.
I mean, I got to keep going. What's not going to success of having a car or going like what world is, but I'm going to die anyway. You might as well just. So you pick up the pieces again. Your wife introduces you to some investor. I mean, so where's Kate? Bring Kate back.
This is about the time of my life when my wife is not carrying me. So
no, but how'd you get introduced in?
So I left Ally. It was GMAC, which is now Ally Bank. So I left there, and I went on to Quicken Loans, and Quicken Loans was doing, at this time, that community bank focused division of a
I
correspondent.
didn't know you were that far in deep into all these different organizations too.
Yeah. So they wanted to do the same thing. This is,
So now you become this expert.
well, by default, yeah. I mean, we were at the time, me and my colleagues and cohorts. I mean, we were really one of the very few people who were doing that, and
Plus
had
knew
knowledge,
about it.
and had launched a successful division in that space. So we were luckily in high demand because of what we had done prior to.
And it didn't scare people off the meltdown.
No, half the people in the mortgage business had a similar story. You know what I mean? I mean,
So they're all grasping too.
even if it wasn't a catastrophic failure like my company, the company I work for was, they got laid off, their company shut down, or they had whatever. Everybody, man, I'm telling you, everybody in the mortgage business that was around at that time has a story.
Yeah.
So get on with Quicken Loans. We, I helped them launch this division, and then 6 months into that, it's fine. It's not great. It's
a job.
I'm trying. I can put food on the table. I can pay my mortgage, and I end up. I don't even really remember how. I think somebody had called me about BOK Financial was starting a similar role. And
everybody's trying to get in the game.
Right. I mean, and because mortgage brokers were gone. I mean, it was a ghost town, at least, in the Midwest. So got on to BOK, where I spent the last 5 years of that part of my career and enjoyed it. They
were doing the same thing, buying mortgages.
That's right.
Because they're bulking up.
Right. I was the third employee, and when I left, we were right under 50.
Wow.
I don't think we had bought a loan yet when I got on, and I mean, this is not because I was there. We had a lot of good people, but we grinded it out.
That's where you came from, man.
Yeah, and so
what is that called? Buying those mortgages? Is there a name for that? Or aggregating is what I mean? Taking all the information, all the loans, but
right. So, yeah.
Is there what's that division called?
It's correspondent mortgage banking.
Correspondent mortgage.
Yeah. Sometimes called wholesale mortgage.
Cool.
But it's kind of the back end of the mortgage business that we know, right? It's if you think of the wholesale and retail side of food service, right? So you've got a wholesaler that
grows or gets the food.
That's right, and they have product in bulk, and they sell individually or in smaller pieces. Well, it's kind of in reverse, right? Okay. So we buy bulk individually, or we did. Correspondent mortgage banking, essentially.
All right. And so that was only like a couple years ago, a year ago, when you used to work there?
Right. Yeah. So I went full time in real estate in Q4 of 2015.
And then how many units do you have now?
I've got I have some with a partner, but in total I've got 33 properties, or 32 properties, 34 doors.
Right. And then they're in two different markets, in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and your home base is in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
And then you manage these properties yourself.
Yes, I've got my team and I do. Yeah.
Okay. And then how was it the transition from that day job to going full in as a real estate investor? What happened there? Was that like the income? We're talking about John Austin the other day. His income overcame through the real estate, so he didn't need to have that job. Is that the similar case, or was it a desire of like, I'm done with this job again, I don't want to get burned again?
Yeah, it was a desire. I hadn't hit that break-even point of salary to real estate income. But what I was, being in finance, I essentially secured private equity. It was kind of the easiest way to put it. So
private
money.
Acquisitions. Correct.
Right. So by that time, I had done some deals.
You held on to your job so you can get W-2 income, so you can go borrow money.
Well, that was
your strategy until you got private equity.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so once I secured that, that was like, I knew I wanted to go full time.
Interesting. Because I coach people and I try to tell them, don't quit your job. Get like a few loans first.
Right.
Everybody wants to quit their job. Nobody wants a job. I get it.
Yeah. So made that transition, in Q4 of 2015, and
now you're grinding it out. And so this is what you do all day long, and
That's
your
right.
wife's to stay home. And so what's your goals, where you're going to take this business? We'll talk about roofing here in a minute.
Right.
And then did you always have how'd you get from Owasso back to Oklahoma City? Or when you took the BOK job, is that when you came
Well,
up
you know
here?
what? My wife and I bounced back and forth from Tulsa and Oklahoma City a couple of times in that.
Positions, jobs.
Right, jobs and
Life,
the ability to move. I was a remote employee most of the time, so I was either working from home or
Cool.
in an airplane.
So then now your base is Oklahoma City, and then did you have those two houses or whatever houses you have down, or is Tulsa a new
Yeah,
market?
so I've got two in the Tulsa. I had two in the Tulsa area. Those were kind of just previous houses that we had lived in.
And you're flipping now down there in Tulsa?
Right, we're
Okay.
flipping there and acquiring, and so we're essentially it's doing the same thing we're doing in the Oklahoma City market, just in Tulsa.
And so what made you, just because you're from there, because you get to see your family, like what?
Yeah, I've got
Like
friends.
I'm trying
and
to buy in
family.
Florida, and so
Right.
because I just want to go down there.
Right.
I'm like I'm just trying to get a grasp of because you got the backing down there. You get some relatives that can help you.
we got family. we go there often. But
Right, okay,
but
obvious.
really it's because I wanted to expand and I didn't want to push my strategy here. I didn't want to push it too far. And I started to do that last year, at the end of last year, just push it. But I felt like it was going to be a little more sound of a strategy to just expand to Tulsa. I know the market. I'm from there, and really, what kind of made the decision for me is I've got a old friend of mine and a colleague down there who is making the transition into real estate. Very smart guy, engineer.
And so you're kind of coaching him, helping him, and
helping him, and
he's boots on the ground down
he's
there.
boots on the ground. We're on I think Project 8 right
This
now.
is so cool because, I've always been in one place. I've just now started reaching out like remotely, and like that's your whole business model. Like this whole banking thing taught you how to communicate, not being there,
Right.
being remotely. I mean, I think that's your powerful gift that you have, and I mean that's what everyone wants now. I want to operate businesses all over the world. I don't want to be there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you already have that tenacity, or you already have that makeup inside of you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and that's
Well, I mean, it's from your job.
yeah, and it's it's I don't know, 15 years in the making of, or at least the realization that right now I'm really big on maximizing your strengths, and maybe it's self-serving because I feel like there are a lot of things that I am terrible at, and I have learned to stop trying to manage that. Those
I don't do
pieces.
accounting. I'm terrible at accounting.
I made that mistake last year. Yeah.
Yeah. I know when we first met, we had like a bunch of conversations. I'm like, let's not talk about that one.
Yeah, I won't do that again.
So business model now, you're flipping too.
Yeah,
And like why flip when you're smart? Okay. Why?
Right.
I'm a big hold guy. Why flip?
I am a big hold guy. We did 27 projects last year.
Flipped?
Not all flip. No. Just a couple of
acquired them?
flips. Right.
Okay.
So I want to keep that same pace here, but I want to expand that out to the other market, to Tulsa. And that's I feel like, that's the way for me to grow right now. But flipping wise, I've had conversations mostly with my mentor, and I have to shift my thinking from what I want out of real estate investing and what's best for the business.
Okay.
And
So you're treating it like an empire, like a business, like it's
Right.
an entity and not a reflection of you.
that's right.
Okay.
And that
What a good mentor.
he's
He's a great guy.
He's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you got to keep in perspective. Like my business is based on my personality, the way I run this deal.
Right.
And something wrong with that, but then there's a different approach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting that you're going into roofing out of a need, right?
Right.
Is that? And
It
that was
is.
a
There's a
business, and that
need.
was a business decision. So let's get into the
That's
roofing
right.
thing. How'd that go? Like all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to be in roofing. I'm like, what? I know we just met just like a few times.
Well, there was a little more planning involved. At the end of the year, I went through sort of a process of really trying to define my business, right? What's the core competency? What do we do well?
Smart.
Like, who are we as a company, right?
What are we trying to do?
Right. And I came to the realization, and really just, I mean, it wasn't hard to recognize that I was chasing too many rabbits down rabbit holes. So went through this process of defining the business. What's our strength? What do we do best, right? And at the end of the day, we acquire and renovate properties. That's it. That is what we do and
Run
what we
construction.
do best. Right. And so 27 renovation projects last year with, budgets up to, what was it?
I saw that kitchen.
$80,000. Yeah. Yeah.
That was gorgeous.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's all Kate right there.
I mean, you got Nathan Cow. Like, you're up there.
well,
Have you seen his work?
I have. I have seen some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
it's just fascinating. So what money can do.
I hope
to be. Creativity.
I hope to be at that level of flipping at some point. But,
well, he hasn't sold them. I mean, I love the guy.
Oh, details, right?
I mean, yeah. We can acquire them, we can dial them up, but man, at the end of the day, I mean, I had lunch with him the other day. It's not his time, but I was like, "Don't you have any kind of stress?" I mean, you're talking about cool as a cucumber. I mean, he's got 3 major $1 million deals going down. I mean, rehabs.
Yeah.
And I was like driving around with him. I'm like, wow, how do you sleep at night? People ask me, I'm millions of dollars in debt. Hey, I'm cool. Like,
maybe I think he may have part of him. He's got some banker inside of him because.
Well, his story is awesome. I can't wait to get it on here.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. Oh, you know him, like his story?
No, I mean, I know his story. I haven't,
Yeah. But anyway, So business model. So you define. So some great mentor said, "Look, dude, what are you doing? What's your core competency? You need to read the book Traction. That'll be a great book because it talks about core competence. Like what is the main thrust of what we're doing?
Yeah.
So then you decided on real estate and construction, rehabbing, and then you just took it to the next level.
Right. So it was a natural. I don't want to say natural, but it made sense for us. 27 projects last year.
Well.
Budgets all over the place. Did well. We and that was all our own properties. Right, those ones that we've held and a few that we flipped, and we did.
So you dove right into the game.
Dove right into it, and we
had you had the equity behind you,
right?
And then so you just was like a kid in a candy store, just trying to find deals. So you learned how to vet deals real quickly,
right?
Learned how to itemize construction.
Right. And I don't want to take all the credit. I mean, I've got a good team. But
I mean, you're the CEO. I mean, but I mean, you have to have it. I mean, it's smart. I'm just trying to give people a grasp. I'm like, dude, you just got into the game like less than 2 years ago and you're full time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're still growing. You're still going through some growing pains.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and that it's I feel like if there's not a struggle, you don't want the struggle to be too difficult. But if there's not a struggle, you're not growing at the pace you need to, right? So that was a way for us to stick to our core business model, our core competency, and expand that business, right? I mean, it is we're doing exactly what we've been doing. We're renovating houses, putting roofs on, but now we're just taking contracts from other investors and not just our own properties.
Okay, so you woke up one day, hey, I'm gonna start doing roofs. Come on, man.
No, I mean
it's just out of a need because you're just getting jerked around,
right? And this is after getting rid of a lot of noise, right? And focusing on that core piece. And really the roofing, we had that the development side of it had been in works for a while, but my coordinator Judith, it was actually her. It was she who said, "Hey, we've essentially done all the hard work. Like we have sourced the labor and the materials and the connections and the relationships and the management piece. Like
measuring,
right.
That's the hardest
right.
thing. People don't get it. Like how many squares is a square?
Right. And she, the hard work's done. Let's just fill the paperwork.
It's just obvious
out.
Entrepreneur.
Right.
There's a need that needs to be met. You want to take out the guesswork of what to do, how to do it.
Right.
And are you going after to assist investors? Or are you doing it retail too? Or what's your business model on that?
Obviously I would take retail business, but I feel like we can service the niche, the investor niche right now because it's part of our strengths, right? I can go in, right? You buy a house, you want to flip into a rental and you don't want to touch it. we can go in there and I can
Do it all.
we can do exactly what we've been doing for the last,
Cool.
30 some odd projects.
All right. So if you're in Oklahoma City or Tulsa and you need a roof done, who do they call?
It's going to be Novus Development Group or Novus Roofing. So
Novus,
they can hook
N-O-U?
Novus.
Okay, N-O-V-U-S.
Novus, and you can
Sounds
hook
like
up
a
with
car.
us. Well, that was the Nova.
Okay. Yeah, I'm slow. All right. And is there a phone number, email?
Yeah,
I mean, we
you know
didn't,
what?
we're not turn this into a TV commercial, or I guess.
Yeah,
just
quick
radio.
plug, and we can get back to it. Just you can hook us up on our website. It's Novus NOVUS.services.
Cool. And then you do construction too.
Yeah, right now we're doing
roofs?
renovations, and roofing. Yeah,
So okay.
sticking to what we
does
do the best.
Some people call me the slumlord. Okay, whatever. Is there any are you you preface? Could it be any house? I mean, obviously any house roof you can do,
right?
Because it's real simple. But like on your rehab stuff, are you doing like small $20,000 jobs, or is this?
Yeah.
So anyone that needs construction.
See, the way that we have structured it, and I feel like this is where we add value, is it's all a flat fee based. So all of the costs
Cool.
that we've secured through our own networking and negotiations and economies of scale, that's what we're bringing to the table.
And then you add your markup on there.
Right. No markups. You just pay us a flat fee to come in and do it for you.
Cool. So you itemize it. I mean, do you itemize? Because there's some dumb, landlords. Oh, how much did you pay for the hammer? I mean, for the nails. I mean, come on, guy.
Right. No,
you just got a whole house done for 10 G's.
Right. I'm not itemizing, but you'll
give them a number.
You know what you're paying for.
Cool.
Right? You know exactly what you're paying for. You know how much you're paying me, and you know how much you're paying
I
everybody.
think there's a need for that. I'm a GC. I do all my own construction right now, and I run into young entrepreneur investors that need that service. Like, they have day jobs. They know they need to be in real estate. They know they need to buy houses. They don't want to manage them. I mean, then there's been people. There's a realtor I was talking to in Indiana that he just provides a service just to GC, just to watch jobs for. He charges $1,000 just to drive by there every other day.
Nice, yeah.
I mean, take pictures.
Right, yeah.
And see that. I mean, what is that called? Project management. So I guess I know there's a need for what you're talking about. So basically, let me just reiterate it or whatever. But you are providing a service like a turnkey operation. Mm-hmm. You come in there, you do the bid, and this is the one number with the material. This is what you're going to pay. 20, 30, 40, 10,000, whatever the cost is. You guys work that out.
Well, we actually take a different approach to it, because if I tell you a number, I'm gonna overestimate that number. Right?
Sure.
I'm gonna overestimate that number because if I come in a little bit over budget, you're gonna end up. It's you that pays. Right. Either I have to go back to you, or I give you a high number. So there's an element of trust involved, and I hope to build that. And I think that's why focusing on the investor.
I want
market.
my house to look like your house.
Well, and we put our pictures up on the website, right? I mean, we can see this is what the job looked like before, and this is after, and
I think you're going to do great.
I appreciate.
You
that.
might be now you're going to be like a builder.
Well, ultimately, that's where we want to go. We want to get into new development, and
That's cool,
we've
man.
got an engineer lined up and a
it's just
project
fun, man.
manager.
I mean, you could do anything. I think with your background now, finance. Now construction. I mean, there's nothing you cannot do. I mean, you can borrow any amount of money. I mean, it's so cool.
I can't do my own bookkeeping.
No, you shouldn't.
Or manage my own properties.
You shouldn't. I think we've had these conversations, and I'm surprised that you call me back. I'm like, hey, man, I text you? Would you mind me on the radio? I thought you'd hate me. I mean, because I'm like, you shouldn't be managing your own property.
No,
you shouldn't be doing these things.
And I've learned. It's been a process for me, but I'm very heavily invested in to capitalize on your strengths and outsource your challenges.
And I think that's a great message for this whole interview, which was, man, exactly an hour now, somewhere.
Oh wow,
an hour and 3 minutes, but. Guys, look where you can come from, and all the struggles that you went through, and I mean, I could just see the sky's the limit. I mean, you're only 30-something years old. I mean, just 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I mean, it's going to be remarkable. And I think the only reason why you even gotten there, or you're going to just explode, is because you're focusing on what you're good at.
Right.
When you're really good at this, maybe raising money, maybe orchestration, whatever it is, that's when I think when you try do real success. I'm good on the microphone. That's my thing. That's why the show is really successful. Now, how do I monetize that? I don't know. I'm not really into throwing ads out there, but I am into helping people.
Right. And you do it well. I mean, you have helped me. I come.
It all comes back. I mean, I think that, karma, whatever, I don't know, but I think the more, Zig Ziglar said, the more you help people, the more, you were in sales. So the more you help people, the more the return that you get, the more, you just got to reach as many people as possible, do as much good business as possible.
There is, in my mind, there's no greater sales technique or business development technique than adding value to somebody before you ask for their business.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I would have you do my place. I've actually hired guys like GCs. Like I hired a guy to do my pool retaining wall.
Yeah.
Like I know I could figure that out. Like it's rocks. It's not too difficult, but there's draining issues. There's some things like I don't know how to operate a Bobcat, but I hired a guy just like you, and I would hire you.
Thank you.
I just feel comfortable with you. I wish I, want my house to be like your house, and I'm on your nuts because you have that kitchen is bomb.
I just took a picture of just the one really cool part we have.
Oh, but you were in construction, like when you're in is that on your website?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So it's the small tile, right? There's like the 1-inch tile. Did you do that too? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Subway tile too.
Yeah, it was that backsplash. Yeah,
yeah, I remember. I was traveling at the time.
Design. That's all Kate, man. She killed it.
Like some of these text messages, I'm like, who's this guy like? Interior designer homes. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, is that granite? Oh no, it's coring, right?
Quartz.
Quartz. You were like texting me all this stuff. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, we're not even homies. And like, he's sending me pictures of his crib. I'm like, man, I gotta go see this.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, and the way you got that deal was even more just amazing. And we'll talk about that sometime we'll have you back on Friday. But man, I don't know. So is there a phone number? Did we even get to a phone number? Is there a phone number to call? Do you have a phone number set up?
Yeah. It's 405-380-5949. That's our office.
Just give Scott England, give him a call, and you need a roof done, construction turned into a commercial sales. We'll be sending a bill to Novus Roofs discount.
That's right.
I want 3-tab. No, not 3-tab laminate. 30-year architectural.
Hey, you got it, man. You got it.
No, man, I appreciate anything. One thing I usually ask, and I didn't get to asked this question, and I got asked this one. What advice would you give to? You've been through it all. You saw both sides of the fence on. Mortgage lending. A lot of people are just ignorant about loans and money. Mm-hmm. What advice? Started a graduate program, quit that. Wonderful wife. You did that right. Because when you find a woman that is supportive, even when you're down, is pretty rare. I've heard stories. People, but what advice would you give to a guy that's at your caliber? It's successful, went to school. Needs something to transform their life. What advice would you give that guy?
Yeah, what's helped me. I think you can find this advice in a lot of places. You just gotta grind it out, and you've got to accept failure. But I would say be honest with yourself. Don't fudge the numbers to get a deal, right? That's something I see a lot when I'm talking to some.
You lie to yourself,
right? You have
that's
you haven't gotten a deal in months, and all of a sudden that Excel sheet you're starting to go in and kind of change the formatting. You're trying to squeeze it, right? Don't do that. The first deal that we did, it took us months to find, and we thought we missed something. We thought there's no way the other investors who know what they're doing missed this deal. It was an MLS deal.
This scares me. I know. I think that way all the time.
But it was, and it's a rental, and it's great, and it was essentially no money down. We didn't have financing at the time. Had to use bank money, but so don't fudge the numbers. Be honest with yourself across the board.
Sure, I like that.
And don't pretend to be something you're not. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not a property manager.
So I'm fat, right? But I tell myself I'm skinny.
Right.
So I just got to say, man, you just chubby, homie.
That's right.
Bookkeeper, that's a good one. I
I'm
like
not
the real numbers thing. I think, I mean, not to cut you off, but I was just like, you're sitting in a building where I thought it was going to take $25,000 to rehab it because I
Right.
lied to myself.
Right.
Because I wanted the deal so bad that I manipulated the numbers in my own mind to justify the purchase of the property.
Right. And that's something we all do. I mean,
I love that advice.
That's a struggle.
I don't even know what to call that, but I like that deal. Be real with the numbers for yourself. I guess run them 3 times.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, it's one thing to miscalculate, and we all do that too. But, and it isn't something that just newbies do, right? I mean, I struggle with it all the time. My team struggles with it. If the deal isn't there, you got to just move on.
That's why I love real estate. And I mean, math, it's just what it is. It costs $4,000 to do the roof, $5,000 for, I don't know, 15 square roof, whatever it is. That's just what it is. You can lie to yourself and you can go get seconds, and save $300, but no warranty. I mean, it's just what it is what it is. I mean, that's what I love about real estate, because you can get to that same answer 20 different ways. 2 + 2 is 4. 3 + 1 is 4. Right. That's what's so cool about real estate and math.
That's right.
But the numbers just don't lie. It costs this much money to do a sewer line. It costs this much money to paint an outside building.
That's right.
You can hire cheaper, and you're going to pay for it.
Right. Yeah, and and that's why I think it's just really important. You have to capitalize your strengths, right? You got to maximize what you do best. And
what if? Okay, let's give it a scenario. I know this is getting too long, but I know people think that they can't get into real estate. Their strengths are, I don't know, not video games, but I'm really good at Mario Brothers. But I guess find another person that has the other strength.
I really believe that everybody has a skill set that applies to real estate. Real estate is huge, right? I mean, there
a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. I came from finance, right? There are people who come from construction or brokerages, right? They're agents and they get in, right? Everybody, and you can be an accountant, you can be
a hustler.
You can be a hustler.
I'm just a hustler.
Right. I mean, you can come. You can be a band manager, right?
Yeah.
You can manage bands and then get into real estate.
It's the same. Yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. I love that, the optimism that, that you can do this. Now, I definitely recommend reading a few books. I definitely thinking getting in groups. I know you have your own little cool mastermind group. I heard about it the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, how can I get into that deal? But I think, it's such great advice. I mean, guys, call this guy, connect with Scott England, and I mean, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I love your future. I mean, your history, and man, I can't wait to meet your wife. Hopefully, she'll meet my wife someday. So it's NOVUS .services. Oh, okay. It's a new .com.
We're hit, man.
Okay, so it's Novus.services. Okay, right on. All right, Scott, man, I appreciate you coming out.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch meeting? The third Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.